Everything. Here we go. So just started recording, so I will just quickly go through that again. Hello everybody, I am Simon. This is mostly, you obviously all know about, but people who are watching the recording of this, they might not know who I am. Although if they've been on the Facebook group for more than about 10 seconds, I've probably done a live stream or 3 in the hour since they joined the page. So, there you go, that's me. We're going to go through and give you an idea about kind of the collective. We'll obviously go through and do some Q&A. And again, both for all of you who are watching this, but also anyone who's watching the recording of this, which will be posted after this session. We decided early on in the collective, obviously I was aware of Eric Whittaker, and this is before actually Eric Whittaker did Virtual Choir 6, which is his latest project, which has a lot of people involved, and I knew of that. Something for me which, when we started White Cliffs of Dover, that virtual choir seemed to lack, was this social aspect of why we all sing. I enjoy singing, I absolutely love singing, but if it was only the singing, I can do that absolutely fine in my own study, at home, on my own. I can do that. I'm okay with technology. I could record myself and I could harmonize with myself. And if that was the only reason I enjoyed singing, I wouldn't need other people to do that. I think it became very clear very quickly that what people miss is the social interaction. They miss a sense of community. They miss a sense of progress. They miss a sense of learning something new. So when we started with the collective, for me, very quickly, and again, I'm a music teacher, so for me, it's always about what we can teach, what we can learn, and how we can best take something from a situation. Awful situation, but we have to try and take the best from it. And so the idea was to use Zoom to actually do live rehearsals, not because we needed to, but because we wanted to, for what it gave us other than helping us learn the song. We could have just provided people with teach tracks, which we do. We could have just given them a score, which we do. But the idea of all the sessions and all the different things we wanted to do was to give them a sense of community, give them a sense that they weren't alone in their homes, and really give them a sense that they were part of something bigger than themselves, and that actually there could be a positive to not being able to go to our own normal choirs, that you could just meet people that you otherwise potentially would never meet. And I think we have met hundreds and hundreds of people that otherwise, I mean, to be frank, the majority of my music team, myself and Laura, I think have met, but not in a particular way that we would particularly know each other. So the majority of my music team, I have not met it properly in person. Okay, and they're my music team, and now it's like they're unbelievably good friends, and we speak to each other like pretty much the entirety of the day to plan this. Other people have struck up these friendships, and they don't know each other. They're in other countries that they've never been to, and that is fabulous. So that's kind of where we're at, and the reason we do these sectional rehearsals is as much about the community and about inclusivity. It's not just for barbershoppers, it's not even necessarily for singers. There's quite a few people who've joined who don't even class themselves as singers, but are still isolated from their family and from their friends, and they want an outlet, and that's what we're trying to provide. So we're trying to provide a lot other than just a final recording. The final recording, obviously at the moment we're working on One Voice, and that's going great. But for us, the process that we're going through, the journey that we're on, is more important than necessarily the result of the recording. So we've always said that the recording is not the most important thing. That's not why we're actually here. That's just almost just like a record of a point in time, and to give us something, because we all like goals, we all like to work towards something, but that's just one goal of many. And again, so that's kind of the idea of, and again, the reason for the name, the collective, was exactly that. There's not the word choir or chorus or anything in there, because most importantly, we're people who want to help support each other. And again, singing is the medium that we do that through. But the other stuff is really important. So, and you'll see that on the Facebook group, that people are supporting each other. They're talking to each other. And a lot of the time it's about the music, but it's not just about the music. But we don't want to sound rubbish either. So I just had to get it in there. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have to learn the song. I can just go along. Now we have to try and learn it. We have to do our best, but not worry too much and be too, oh well, you need to be absolutely perfect, and otherwise we're going to fail you on your audition track. And it's not that. There is no pass. There's no fail. There's nothing like that at all. Anyone who gets involved they're in the collective just by being here and wanting to be here. So that's kind of the general idea of what the collective is. We run it through Zoom sessions, and for One Voice, we have I think we're over 400 sessions over the last 2.5 weeks. So we've run more than 400 sectionals with the music team, and they are still coming. They're still coming this week. There's still things to come, and they're being constantly added as we see a need that our singers have. We are then putting those things in place. At the moment, they're very One Voice related, so specifically to do with the breath plan of One Voice, and to do with, although stuff to do with, I'm not sure, there was Andrew Edgley this afternoon at 3:00 did a session on breathing and support, which was about One Voice, but actually it was just more about breathing in general. So one of the other things is that we wanted to make sure that we were giving things that would work for every song. It's not just about helping to learn one song, it's about helping people that things they can use, and we've got a very talented music team with a lot of very experienced people, a lot more experienced and talented than me in their kind of field and kind of barbershop, that therefore we want to get their knowledge to you all. And they're the idea of recording sessions where we can, not everyone can, but the idea of recording sessions and putting them out there so that people can use them as learning resources even when we're back with our choruses, with our choirs, with our quartets, that we can still come back and we've got those resources. And they say, oh, I learned something great when I was doing the collective, and you can still then use those things. So there's no protection on anything. We want to make sure. Sorry, my daughter's just come in the study. One second. Hello, darling. I'm busy, sweetie pie. I am busy. Say hello to everybody. This is my daughter Charlotte, one of my 4 children. I have many children. I live with them all though, so it's okay. Cool. Give us a kiss. Love you. And you go away now, okay? You go see, because I'm talking to people on the Tinternet, okay? I love you, and don't stand on the spider. I love you. Go on, pop off, my beautiful. Sorry, I left my study door open, so it does happen. It's the joys of being a father. So we run Zoom sessions. We try to record as much stuff as possible. And again, we try and be as democratic as we can be as a music team. It's not a dictatorship. We try and be democratic. I'm always asking for people's opinions and on how we can do stuff better for you all. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing, for example, Andrew's breathing sessions was something that actually he just said, I think this would be really useful. So he runs it. Other people have come up with other kind of ideas of sessions, and we just let them run with that because they are, like I said, very experienced, and they want to help and support. So I'm going to take my first round of questions. I've kind of given you a bit of a flavour. Obviously, everything is included. There's no cost. There's a very small chance that because of email issues, we may well be at some point asking for some yes. Because we have 1,600 people, the free emailing system that we used, we ran out of emails, which means we haven't. Gmail. We broke Gmail. We also broke MailChimp. So there's a very small possibility that we might ask for some donations towards basically having some credits on an email system. However, that is not decided upon yet, and certainly there is no charge. There will be no point where we come and say you owe us X, Y, or Z. So it's completely free. It's not anything about trying to make money. There is no money involved as far as none of the music team are getting paid. No one who does anything gets any money out of it, and it is all completely voluntary. And we're just doing it because we want to help and support, and we miss singing with our own groups, and we thought other people do as well. So that's it for the moment. I've got other stuff, but I want to give you some chance to do some questions because it may cover some of the things that I was going to come on to, and it maybe gives me a little bit of a nudge to remember certain things that I wanted to mention, because I do not write scripts down. I hate scripted stuff. I don't want to be like, hello and welcome to the Collective, your friendly neighbourhood virtual choir. No, not doing that, okay? So you might have questions, and I will now unmute you, and you can ask some questions. Please put your hand up in an orderly fashion, or I will put Laura in the waiting room.
Oh, that works.
I'm only kidding. Dudley. Dudley.
Okay, well, I'll start off. I have two specific questions. If I ask this one first, I have recorded one voice, tenor two, which I sent yesterday. So obviously that's past the point of assessment, but I just need to know that I've done it correctly, because originally I was recording, my name's Dudley Stone, tenor two, final recording on the track. Rubbish, I've discovered. That's rubbish. You have to type in the subject bar?
Yeah, of your email. Yeah. Now, this is a good point to just very quickly share my screen, if that's all right for a second, Dudley, and I'll just quickly go through that because it kind of will help me with one of the things I wanted to go through. So I'm just going to share my screen, folks. I'm just going to go into the Facebook members group, which, as far as I'm aware, you are all party to. You're all on that, yes?
Yeah.
I would assume so, because you're all here. And because we can't send emails out at the moment, nobody outside of the Facebook group has any idea what's going on. But we'll hopefully remedy that at some point. So the collective members page is basically, and again, this is actually new, pretty much new, I think, for One Voice. I don't think we really had this as much. I think we started it partway through with Dover, but we wanted a members group as it got bigger. So yeah, can you see that, folks?
Yep.
Yeah, excellent. So first things first is important things of this group. And again, you may not be a big Facebook user. There's two things. One is the search. Okay. Now, not to invite members on the right-hand side, but the search bar on the left-hand side. If you saw something and you know a key word that was in that. So, for example, if you type in the word recording, as in what do I do with my recording, and you were to search just based on the filter word recording, it will bring up posts that mention recording. Now, yes, there's still other people will mention the word recording, but you've got more likelihood to find out what it was. And the more words you can remember, the more likely it is you'll find that. Okay, so for example, if you thought, oh, there was something to do with the melody recording, well, there's a video link to the recording information. So that's the first way of using this Facebook group, is that you can type in words. If you remember it was about something specific, you can just type that in, and at least it filters it down to a smaller number of posts rather than just scrolling endlessly through posts. That's the first thing. The second thing is just the tab up here. Anytime you want to get back, you just press discussion. That's where all the posts are. So when you've searched stuff and you're like, how do I get back to where I just was? It's always just discussion. Okay. Now, so when then you go is announcements. Now, important things I mark as announcements. Now, some people say, can you pin this to the top? The problem is you can only pin one post to the top of the announcements at any one time. And I've always got at least 5 people who want me to pin their specific favourite item to the top. But I can only do one of those. So they're all there as announcements, but you have to be able to press see all. Okay? So at the moment, I've talked about, because it was what was happening today, telling people that if they haven't heard feedback from their recordings for One Voice, then they should email us and let us know, because that's the thing that's important today. The other things are still there, though. So if I just press see all, it then goes through everything that I've marked as an announcement. I can remove it as an announcement, and I have done with some things, but we can, for example, see that there's the tech team sign up for people who could maybe help with audio editing. Okay, there is final email recording title information, which basically tells people exactly what they should name their recordings and gives them some real simple pointers on what they should and shouldn't do with that. There's a poll, which obviously you probably saw, that would you like an introduction Zoom session? So all the things that are important. There's some of my videos on audio tech team, and there is also the recording information. Now that is the document that I initially put out, which told people what the deadlines were for One Voice. And if I just click on this, you'll see that obviously at the moment we have got to the point of Monday the 25th of May, which is when they basically singers should have received feedback. And again, back to that singer's email address. Okay, we know that the Monday the 1st of June is the final deadline for recordings, and there is then this information underneath to help people with know how to do that. So the announcements are always there as best as we can. to make sure that you are aware. Now, the folder for all the tracks and scores is also there as a OneDrive link. Okay, so for example, all the guide tracks for One Voice. So put it this way, even if you don't get a recording in by the 1st of June, that does not mean you can't go and look at the tracks and try and learn the song. Absolutely no reason why not, because the process is more important than the final result. So if you want to learn that song, even if you want to learn it from the point of view you like the sound of it, go and get the tracks. Go to the link, and it's not going to be closed down. The link isn't going to disappear or be locked. There's no password. It's just an open folder that you can go and access and use. Okay, and it will stay that way. So therefore, you go in and you click on that, and basically you'll again. And these are live links. I use OneDrive because they are live links, which means anything I do and change is automatically changed in there. So you'll see that there's conductor videos, which I've done, that you can download. There's the old information, which I mark as old, and then there's updated guide tracks, the score, updated video tracks, and all the information is always in a OneDrive where you can access it. Okay, so you've got multiple versions of the different parts of the score that have been annotated up. So if I go into the full score, which was updated on the 3rd of May, you will see that once it loads up, there's annotation of all of that. Okay, so basically it's been marked up to tell everybody what we want to do and when, and that matches the guide tracks, which matches the conductor video. So we try and give as much information as possible, which is where we're at. Okay, so the members page, sorry, my internet might be being slightly slow at the moment, so apologies if you can't hear me very well. It just looks like it's ever so slightly slow. Dean, you had a question.
Just a quick question about the copyright issue. I mean, it's there, but I'm assuming that we don't have the rights to be able to use that and take it someplace else and sing with another group, correct?
No. That's the other thing. You can do anything with that within the remits of this group, and you can always learn it for personal use. But we would ask. I mean, I'm not going to go to Texas, so officially you could print the score out. You could use the guide tracks and have them out. But we would ask people not to, and therefore they can always contact. I mean, the arrangements that we're doing are arrangements I do. But again, if there was ever an interest from any groups to want to sing these after the fact, after this is finished, then they are all available. Again, people just have to contact me after the fact, and some people have. And as I said, I'm not trying to make lots of money out of this, but at the same point, I'm probably causing an issue if I start giving away lots of stuff for absolutely nothing, which probably puts pressure on other arrangers who may not be willing to do that if that is their sole source of income, which isn't mine because I'm a music teacher. So that would be the only thing we'd ask. But I'm not going to go around checking people and going to Texas to see if that's happening. So again, we just have to trust people that they wouldn't do that. Obviously, on the page as well, we have. Sometimes I put photographs, images up of like rehearsals with the Zoom codes and stuff like that. We do have a rehearsal app, which obviously I can show you in a second, which again, actually it's there. So the link is there for Get My Rehearsals. It has got, again, this has been done by just one of the singers, again, for free. For absolutely nothing, and he has spent, I would say it's in the hundreds of hours now, basically updating and formatting an app that when you go onto it, it allows you to sort your time zone, to sort out how you like to look at dates. So do you like month, day, year, or day, month, year, or year, month, day, or you can basically have it in any kind of backwards way you like, as opposed to the correct way of day, month, year, but I suppose that where you live. Again, you can therefore have it in 24-hour or 12-hour. It's up to you. And also, you can therefore be choosing your voice parts. Now, this will be updated for the next song, which is only in 4 parts. You've Got a Friend in Me, and it will be updated for that. But at the moment, for example, if I say I'm a baritone, what is there out there for me? You have to put in your registered email address, so just make sure you filled in the form. But when all of you came onto this group, it did say, have you filled in the form? So hopefully you have. When you press Get My Rehearsals, it then gives you all the different things. So Fritzing Breath Control was today at 3 o'clock, which sadly you've missed that if you didn't already go to it. But you'll see that at 11 o'clock this evening, this is my foolish thought that I'm doing a session at 11 o'clock for new members. I don't know why I said that, but I am. So that's what I've decided to do, 11 o'clock this evening. So I'll be here until about midnight. Feel free to come back if you think of any questions. All the information's there. You'll even see that there's some, because we've got quite a lot of people who do know each other, we've got a social get-together if people want to do that kind of thing. And then there's introduction sessions. And there is extra sessions being added at the moment by the team. So that you can therefore access that. And again, that's in the links there as well. Okay, so I try and keep that updated with announcements. And again, we press discussion just to get back to where we were. Okay, so that's the Facebook group. It was based on Dudley's question, but obviously I just wanted to therefore say that's the way you want to get all your information. Because email at the moment is difficult because we don't have these credits on this system. Any other questions, folks? Eliz Dwyer. Oh, I can't hear you. You might have put yourself at mute or something like that.
Let me unmute myself.
Yes. There we go.
Right. People, how do we access the next track, You've Got a Friend? Because I've gone on to the announcements and I've got the one voice one, but I can only seem to get the one voice.
What I will do, it was a while ago that I put the You've Got a Friend, I think I was actually in an email a while ago. What I will do is, and I'll do this today for you, I will put the link for You've Got a Friend in Me, and I will put it there. Now, I will say that at the moment, the tracks will be redone. So, as was the way with Dover and One Voice, initially, the folder link doesn't have as much stuff. There'll be the score, and there will then be some guide tracks which will need to be re-recorded because I did this initially about 7 years ago. So I will be re-recording the tracks. I will be annotating the score more. I'll be doing so. Hence, that was always the link, but there will be lots of other things going in there. So at the moment, it will look a little bit bare. But yeah, I'll be sharing that link, and I can do that today. I'll share it. So then I'll put it on the announcements, and you can find it.
Lovely, thank you.
No worries at all. Any other questions, folks? Dudley.
Yeah, the second question then, Simon. Again, it's about recording. Part of the One Voice and part of Lux Acapella, we have a few bars in the middle and a few bars at the end.
Yeah.
How do we go about the recording of that? Do we listen to the entire song with our headphones and at the appropriate time sing?
Yes.
Or do we do one bit, record it, and one bit? So
what you do is you basically do it exactly like your normal harmony part. So you start off, you count in 2, 2, 3, as for everything. So you start from the very beginning with 2, 2, 3. But basically you sing. If you're Lux a cappella, it takes that one that little section that Lux do, but you also do bar 25 to 30, which is the da 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 section. All the choruses do that, and you also then do the end part. I think it's halfway through bar 44 until the end. You do that, and you'll do that in one take, and you just won't sing in the bits which are not for you to sing. And that's what you do. So yeah, so we'll end up getting a track from you, which will be granted 2/3 of it will be silence, but it means that we don't have to worry about the synchronization. That 2, 2, 3 at the beginning is the key thing for us to be able to easily sync everything up. Which again in Dover we didn't do that, and it did cause me probably maybe an additional 10 hours of work just to sync things up. Well, probably that me not thinking about that probably cost me 10 hours at least of the 110 I took. So I could have maybe done the audio editing in 100 hours instead of 110. Probably would have been good. So I would have saved myself a day for getting people to just go 2, 2, 3, which, so we're doing it this time. So yeah, that's all you need to do. Whole thing, 2, 2, 3, sing your bits.
That's brilliant. Name and Lux Acapella in the subject bar.
LA for Lux Acapella, just so you don't have to worry about spelling acapella, because loads of people spell it different ways.
Okay.
So yeah, LA is absolutely fine. So final recording, solo, LA, Dudley Stone. And if you do that in your email title, that's fine. If you know how to title your recording and change the name of the recording to say exactly the same thing, please do. But don't worry if you can't do that. I am going through ones that don't do that, and I'm naming them myself. But if you can name the audio track with your name and all that information, that would be brilliant. But it's not the end of the world. I can do it if not.
So when you say name the audio track, what does that mean?
Well, when you record yourself on a phone, you sometimes can rename that file. So instead of like 20202502, like hence the date and the time, and it's like, or it's called audio 001. You know, like your recording has the name. If you can change the name, brilliant, but don't lose any sleep over it, because it only maybe takes me 15 seconds to name it myself. But obviously, if we get 600 in, 600 times 15, if everybody, so it's just people who can, it saves me a little bit of time, but don't worry if you can't. And again, that information's in the recording info documents. It's like, if you can't, don't worry, but every 15 seconds counts when there's maybe 600 people doing it.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
no worries. Lindsay, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, obviously you're talking about audio recordings.
Yeah.
So what happens about the actual video? Creating the video? Yeah.
Well, we cheat. Now, because one thing I knew from virtual choirs is that video is a massive, I was going to say probably a rude word there, is a massive issue and very time consuming. Remembering that it's people from different countries and they may not understand my the lingo that I'd be using. So I would say that what we do is we use Zoom. So rather than having individual video submissions, we will be running basically a karaoke lip sync recording. So we'll basically have all the different vocal parts for one voice, and we did the same thing for Dover. We'll be basically tuning into a Zoom session. We'll basically put everyone on mute, and we will then run through the song. We'll literally put the guide track on, and people will perform. They can sing out loud if they want, because they'll be on mute, and they will sing their part in the song, and we will record that. But we'll do that with multiple groups of people, so voice parts, different countries, different choruses, different soloists, and basically that will then be used to patchwork to create the overall video, because it will save us a lot of time. Rather than individual submissions of maybe 600 videos, we can maybe fit up to 50 people, or 49 people I can fit on the screen at any one time, a 7x7. So obviously I cut that down by 49 times. So it's 49 times less video editing, and the audio as well. It means that someone doesn't have to worry about looking good and sounding good, because sometimes people actually will do their best singing, but they might not have to worry about how their face looks at the time. Or what they're wearing, and hence I think people, if they stick a camera in their face, sometimes it is a problem for them getting their best vocal performance, because it's a bit of an artificial way of doing it on your own with a camera pointing at you, possibly in selfie mode so you can see yourself, which is problematic. So that's why we've gone for that, partly for editing time, but partly because people will get a little bit freaked out by staring at themselves and thinking I look awful and I don't sound much better either, was where we were going. So it'll be lip syncing karaoke style, but it worked quite well for Dover, and it just means that we can get, again, because for us the process is more important than the final result. We're not going for we want it to look as good as it can be, but for us the actual process and the singing is the important thing, as opposed to having like a really fancy production values on a video. It's just a record of what we're doing. It's an archiving tool of what we've been doing as a group, as opposed to something where we're trying to plug ourselves as a musical artist. You might want to book and come to your show. I think the transportation costs to try and book a choir made up from 28 different countries, I don't think anyone could afford us. Does that answer your question okay?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Yes, Laura Hall.
Can I just say a quick goodbye? Because I'm running off to run a 10 or 2 section now, and it'd be sad if I'm not there.
The commitment you show is just brilliant.
I think I'm just going more and more into this project, so I need to run.
Yeah, you take care, Laura. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you, folks.
Bye.
Lovely to see you. Okay, now, is there any other questions? Because as I said, I wasn't quite sure what this session was, apart from wanting to let you know. Now, my next thing is, please feel free to put tracks in for one voice. Please feel free to. I'm aware that you have a week. So you have a week. Now, obviously, a week is not a huge amount of time, but if you want to, that's absolutely fine. Okay? Now, there is one place you may want to go if you haven't already, which is my YouTube account. Okay, now some of you will have done, but I will take you there now to the wonderful place of Mr. Lub Music. Now, Mr. Lub Music is my teaching YouTube account, basically, and I'll hopefully you can see YouTube on the screen here. And if I go in here and I type in Mr. Lub Music, be aware that there is a channel called Mr. Lube Music. That is not me. Okay? Don't worry, it's not inappropriate. It's a garage. I think I'm going to click on Mr. Lube Music, but you will see Mr. Lube keep on rocking, and there's some things to do with lube, and just that's not me. This is me, Mr. Lub Music. Please do not mistake me for anything else. Now, thankfully, because the White Cliffs of Dover has had so many views, our stuff comes up first now when you type Mr. Lub. Well, before we had this, Mr. Lube videos came up instead of my account. So obviously you can therefore search Mr. Lub Music, and that is my account. Okay. All the stuff you need is on there. Now, some of it is unlisted. The only things which are unlisted are things that, because I'm a music teacher, any videos where there's anything that I might think I would not want my students to see or hear is unlisted and shared on the Facebook page. But the majority of all the learning materials are on YouTube. There was one live stream that I did, which I have to keep unlisted because people in the chat were talking about maybe doing their recordings without wearing clothes. And it was amusing at the time. They were talking about, like, because I said basically don't wear a shell suit because it makes lots of noises, of which someone in the chat said, okay, well, should we wear any clothes at all then? And then it went on to a bit of a fight. People talk about, let's be a naked choir. That would get us noticed, wouldn't it? So obviously I have to keep that one unlisted because my students and my head teacher at my school might not feel very good about watching that conversation. I did not bring it up, but I merely commented on it. So the majority of stuff is there. So if you're ever not quite sure why you can't find a specific video, some stuff is because it's just streamed on live on Facebook. And some stuff, there's a couple of videos, live streams, where the comments and the questions that I have to answer therefore mean that I have to keep it unlisted, again, for professionalism and my kind of job as a music teacher. Not because I'm there swearing or anything, but just because of some of the questions and what other people might be saying. So if you go into videos in Mr. Lub Music, and obviously please subscribe, I always like subscribers, although it's not about that. I don't monetize any of my videos, so I don't make anything from this, so don't worry, that's not what it's about. You will see that there's, again, you won't see my page like this. Let me see if I can show it as you'll see it, because this is all my unlisted videos and all my music team, my music lessons and stuff. View as yourself, view as a returning subscriber. Excellent. So otherwise it'll get confusing because you'll wonder where the music lessons are. So you will see it like this. And if we look here on playlists, and this is if you want to do one voice, there is one voice guide videos, there's one voice conductor videos, and there's collective one voice. There is also sectional videos, okay? There are sectional videos that are out and about there, and I think, yeah, so if we look here, there is lots of different things. There's phase two, there's informational videos, there's conductor videos, there's all sorts of things. In the main page, there is also, and this is what you might want to look at if you're trying to learn the song, it is not for all voice parts because these are my sectional rehearsals that I recorded. If we go into that, you'll notice that I've recorded some of my sessions. So you'll see there's a baritone notes, breaths and words sectional, there's a soprano sectional, there's another one for solos, there's another one for phrasing and musicality for different parts, and I have therefore tried to record as many of my sectionals as possible. They're not there for all sections, but if you wanted to go and, like, for example, watch a rehearsal and actually go and sit and watch a Zoom rehearsal where I take you through the phrasing, the breath points of one voice because you want to put a recording in a week, that's absolutely fine. Okay, you can do that. There's no reason why you shouldn't be trying to put a recording in if you have the time to try and go through the song and learn that song. Okay, so Mr. Lub Music is where all the stuff goes, and you'll still have access to, obviously, the link on OneDrive, which you can download things, but then it's all on YouTube as well if you want it on the go and you want to be checking that stuff out. So yeah, any other questions at the moment? Yes, Lindsay, and then Barb.
Yeah, do you have what was I going to say? Yeah, do you have specific voice part sort of balancing in your head, or does the technology do all that?
Technology does it. Basically, at the moment we have less basses than we have alto ones, for example. So alto ones at the moment, we think is the largest section. But in the final recording, it will make absolutely no difference. There'll be no balancing issues because the alto ones will be mixed as a separate track and the basses will be a separate track. So I can just up the level of the basses and the altos will be the same. So even if there was 10 basses and 600 alto ones on the final track, they'd be exactly at parity and they'd be exactly the same volume. So no, there's no issues with balance. All we've said to people is choose the voice part that suits you best, and that's absolutely fine. So there's no like, well, we're full, like in a normal chorus, oh, well, we don't need any more soprano, or we don't need any more tenors, because that would upset the balance. So basically, we're only looking for leads at the moment. Thankfully, one of the positives of a virtual chorus is that there's no issues. We can just turn the tenors down if there's too many of them, and turn the basses up if there's not as many of them. So yeah, we can make sure we do that. So that's fine. Barb, you had your hand up.
I did. I am singing baritone,
Mm-hmm.
and the opening phrase is rather daunting. And I was hoping you could explain ninja breathing.
I can indeed explain ninja breathing. Now, I will also, and I will put this in the chat, because ninja breathing was a specific thing, and I will just share my screen for a second, and obviously this does it. There is a video, and I will just go into this video and share, and I will copy the link into the chat box of this. I did a 5.5 minute, that's not the greatest picture of me paused, my apologies for that. Face for radio, that's what I've always realised with me, face for radio. So there is a 5.5 minute where I literally go through a more detailed idea of ninja breath. I'll very quickly explain it. The idea, and I'll just post this link in the chat. Do you know how to access the chat, by the way, Barb, in this?
In Zoom?
On Zoom, yeah, there's a button that says chat. No, in Zoom. On Zoom, I've just put a link to this in the chat. So there's a YouTube link in the chat. Have you managed to press up? There's a thing that says chat. So if you press the button on your screen that says chat, depends if you're on a phone or a computer. But there is a chat thing, and there's again. But it is on my if you go into my account and search Ninja Breath, it's there as well. It is also on the Facebook page as well. If you type in the word Ninja Breath, it's on there. But a Ninja Breath, as we call it, is where you miss a word out and you breathe in place of a word. So rather than having to do some of these really long phrases, which we want for musical reasons, it's important for the musicality of a phrase that we don't have breaths in between parts of words where it doesn't really want it, and the musicality means that you should push through on that phrase. But because we expect that not everyone will be able to have like can be going like for 35 seconds with no breath, at any point you can therefore you can breathe at any point, just not at the places which are marked as NB, which means no breath. So you can breathe anywhere apart from the few places that say no breath, which is NB. So in a ninja breath, if I was singing the melody, for example, and I was going like, one voice singing in the darkness, all it takes is one. And I was like, oh, that's a big phrase and there's no breath points. I'd just take a word out and I would actually breathe in on that word. So I'd go something along the lines of this. One voice singing in the darkness, all it... One voice. So I kind of breathed in on the words, and it doesn't matter if I took out two little words there, and I just came back in the correct timing. So a ninja breath is just where you take out a word and you breathe in place of that word. But when we stack all those voices in that section together, it sounds like they've not breathed ever at all, because there's never going to be a point when everybody's chosen that exact place to ninja breathe. It's basically a way of cheating and making it sound like we've got incredible breath control.
Is that a British term? Is that a British term? We say stagger breathing.
Well, I said stagger breathing. I said stagger breathing, but somebody said, well, I call it ninja breathing, and that was more popular. It sounded a bit more exciting. Staggered breathing is just like Yeah, but ninja breathing makes it sound like we've got to be kind of like ready and like ready to pounce. So we went with ninja breathing because it was a little bit more colourful, and I do like colourful language. So yeah, it's just staggered breathing or chorus breaths or trusted breaths or ninja breath. It's just miss out a word, breathe on a word instead of having to get it at the end of a sentence, because sometimes breaths at the end of a sentence musically you don't want to do that. You want to push that section through to go with the emotion, but you have to breathe at some point. So yeah, just take some words out whenever you need to, and that's absolutely fine. Dudley, you've got your hand up, mate.
Yeah, I have, Simon, and this relates to ninja breathing, which I fully understand. And taking words out is great and it's easy, but with one voice, I'm not sure about the other parts, but certainly with tenor two, a lot of the held phrases are just held on a vowel.
Yeah.
It's not a word.
No. And you take part vowel. You take part vowel.
Yeah. He said the important thing was to get the beginning of the phrase and the end of the phrase on your recording and take something out in the middle, even if that's the held vowel. So if
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got those big long phrases of one voice, and again, and at the end of that one voice, it's straight through into the next, as in swan voice, into the next one. All that's important is you just don't breathe in between the one voice and the next one voice, because then that's audible. So yeah, you just take the breath halfway. One voice, darkness, one, and that's fine as long as you don't breathe at the places. That's perfect. Yeah, so you're exactly right. You're exactly right, Dudley. Yeah, you don't have to miss out an entire voice, because if you miss out the entire word voice, you won't be able to sing for another 6 seconds, because some of them are about that long. So you'll be sitting there going, "I'm ready to sing again now." So yeah, just take part of a vowel out, come back in again, feather it out, feather it in as well. So don't like yeah, because it's like you get those speed bumps when you go back in. So go out gradually, come back in gradually, and it will blend really nicely with the rest of the section. Any other questions, folks? Cool. I think that's the majority of things. Obviously, you've got the YouTube account, you've got the links on the Facebook group. Eventually, we'll get back to the email system, but then it will only be sending out the same information. And obviously, with you all being on Facebook and obviously internet savvy enough to be on Zoom and on Facebook and to be able to find YouTube, all those resources are there for you. Again, I'd encourage you to try and put a recording in for the 1st of June. Not before the 1st of June, but 1st of June is a deadline. So again, there will be some sessions this week to hopefully try and catch you up a little bit. Again, don't worry if you've not done any sectionals so far. There is definitely time, even if you can't make any of them, because there's not as many this week, because of music team timetables and because it wasn't initially going to be a thing that we'd be doing. We've just added it in after the fact. You can watch those sectionals on YouTube. If you want to try and have a look through those points. And yeah, I think it's just that we just need, feel free to do that. And again, feel free to ask any questions on the members page, even if it's not me answering, because sometimes I can't answer. There's lots of people who will always answer your questions. They'll point you in the right direction of things. And there is a lovely community on there who will do an awful lot to help you. You've got the rehearsal app, which will help you with what the Zoom codes, especially if you struggle with time zones and like, GMT +1 and British standard, British summertime, and then what is it compared to you and all that stuff. So hopefully all these things are there to help you, and we'd really encourage you to put a recording in so you know that your voice is part of that. You've Got a Friend in Me will be starting within the next week and a half. So once we get past the 1st of June, we will be starting actually, whilst some of us are doing the audio editing phase, and before we do the videos, we'll have actually be starting with You've Got a Friend in Me. Because what we don't want to do is make singers sit there for 2 weeks while we're editing the audio and they're not doing any singing. So the idea is some of the music team will be involved in editing, myself among them, and some of the music team aren't technologically savvy, but they will be running sectionals as well. So they'll be doing sectionals for You've Got a Friend in Me to keep you all ticking along whilst the rest of us are doing some audio editing, and the new members of the tech team who we're getting to help us out with that as well. So, and then we'll be doing the video once that audio editing is close to being completed. But obviously then we'll be putting on additional Zoom sessions for the karaoke lip sync time. yeah, so we have no specific deadline of when we're going to launch One Voice. We're going to make sure we do the audio editing properly, and we'll do the video properly, and we'll have multiple video sessions so it suits everybody's time zones. And we're not going to put anything out because it's not just about the result, it's about the process. We're just going to make sure we make everything right and start You've Got a Friend in Me, and we're not going to worry too much and put too much pressure on when we have to get the audio edited. We'll be doing it as quick as we can, but I don't want to set a date at the moment, because then that date, if we get 600 or 700 or 800 recordings in and we've set a date of we're going to do it in 2 weeks or we'll do it in 1 week, we might be setting ourselves up for either a very stressful time or to potentially have to move the deadline. So I'd rather initially not set one, so we can actually spend the time that we need to. I think that's everything for the moment, folks. Hopefully it's been useful to ask some questions. I'll put this up as a recording. If you think of any other questions and you are around this evening at 11 o'clock my time, then feel free to pop back in again. But hopefully it's been useful for you. Great to have you on board. Feel free to invite anyone else to get involved with the process. There is no limit on numbers. There is no deadline on when you can join. So feel free to join at any point. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, folks. Take care. Lovely to see you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.